Our journey today is going to take us to Italy, where we pick up a Fispa fuel pump, 1953 Alpha Romeo. These are handy because they have a primer lever, and we're going to go through it and freshen it up so we can get one more Alpha Romeo back on the road. The first order of business is to clamp it in the vise so we can work on it. And seeing as how the primer lever is in the way, we're going to mount it on the other side today. First thing we want to do is mark the location of the fuel casting in relation to the body, so that the inlet and outlet go back on the exact same spots that they were in when they were on the car. I should say when it was on the car. We want to remove this bolt that holds this cover on. There's a fiber washer underneath here. This particular one happens to have two washers, which tells me that it leaked at some point. So in order to and then fix it, they just stuck another washer on it. Take the cover off. There's a gasket. Actually, this particular one is an O-ring, and this filter screen. A lot of people neglect this when they're doing their maintenance. It's just one more thing that has to be done. Remove all these 6 screws. Watch out on the last one in case there's any pressure on the spring. It'll pop it up. Well, I can tell you for a fact that this pump has never been done before. This is it's never been touched since 1953. Obviously it's stuck together. Take a putty knife, put it in between the two castings, like right on the diaphragm, and give it a few taps, and pop it loose. That'll give you access to the inlet and outlet valves underneath, and the rest of the diaphragm. Now, this puppy is stuck pretty good, and the reason being is this is like an AC type D and type B pump. We have to take these 3 screws out, remove this cover, and there should be a spring right underneath it. And the pull rod is in there with a pin. It's being held in with a pin. Remove these 3 screws. Just be careful because of that spring. Here's the spring and a little cup and a gasket. And I would say that needs some attention. Now, we got to take the diaphragm out of there. In order to get it out, we got to take this little clip right here. We got to remove that, and then the pin will slide out, in theory. If you're going to do this at home and you order a kit, you'll get a new pin, you'll get new clips. Oh, this one's not going to be an easy one, so we have to get this up over the top of this. Let's see if we can't do it this way. Alright, what we're going to have to do is remove the pin so we can slide all this mess out. Now, some of the casting has been pushed, it's been dented over it, but this side doesn't, so we're going to drive the pin out through this way. Yeah, something a little rounded. Maybe not. Don't drop that. Spring, it's got a little seal right inside of here. You get one of those with the kit. And as you can see, it's still got the Fispa name on it. And the reason I know this is original one, before I even took this out, was right in here is a staple. There's this diaphragm back in the 50s. Was made up of several layers. This particular one was 3 layers, tar-coated canvas. They'd put kerosene on it before they put it together, and it helps to seal it. Nowadays, we don't have to worry about that. So I'll get this the rest of the way out. You get a new pin. That's as far as we're going to take this apart. We're going to get this ready to go in the glass beading tank. I will show you how to get these valves out. It's kind of a strange coincidence that AC used the same basic casting on 1930s Chevrolet. We want to remove these 3 screws. And this plate is one of the springs that holds the valve down. This is one of the seats right here. As you can see how dirty that thing is. Hex valves. Another spring. Another hex valve. There's a gasket. Trying to get it out without breaking it. And that little notch right there is rather important, and I'll show you when it comes time to put it back together. And it's the retainer that holds the spring. The seat, where I'm going to be glass beading. I don't want glass beads to get stuck in these threads, so I put these little screws back in. And this piece is ready for the bead blaster. We're going to glass bead it. We're going to clear coat it, the outsides, and we're going to flatten out all these surfaces. Everywhere that you got a gasket that's going to go on, flatten them all out, make sure they're nice and clean so that you have no leaks. And we'll see how it goes. Alright, we've got all the parts all glass beaded, clear coated. Surfaces are all flat. This one was a little tough to do because of the priming lever in the bottom casting, but a flat file took care of that. And the small cover. We want to install the gasket first for the small cover, only because it's the easiest thing to do. One of the easier things. Don't forget the fiber washer. And we got a new spring and a new cup, a new seal, new hex valves, and little springs. Now, I was saying earlier about this little notch right here. Well, the new gasket that we supply doesn't have that notch because not all of them need them. It's easy enough. Take a pair of scissors and just cut it. And it's there, so it will clear the valve that sits in this spot. It's not bad. Could use a little more on the edge, but it'll be fine. Now we want to surface that seat right in there. If you take a dowel, 3/8 dowel, wooden dowel, put a little piece of sticky sandpaper on the end of it, and just run it around there a few times, and it flattens it out, makes it nice and clean. I'm going to remove the screws that I put in to keep the threads clear. It's kind of tricky in this area because everything is so small. You want to make sure you don't drop anything like I just did. And set the valve on top. The other valve goes down inside. And it looks like it's a little too big. We just got to trim these edges off of this and make it fit. We made it back to being round again. Let's see if it'll fit. Perfect. Set the spring on top. Put your gasket on it. This is, I don't like this part. We have to do this real quick so that you don't do what I just did, and that's make everything crash. You have to kind of do it quick and easy. This is probably the most difficult part, is getting this little plate to sit in there without knocking the washers, springs over, and getting the gasket crooked. A little trial and error, you'll get it. Make sure those 3 screws are good and tight. Put the screen on. And the cover. Be careful tightening it up. Just remember you're only going into aluminum. On the later Chevrolet castings, or the earlier ones, this hole here is threaded, and there's a bolt that sticks in there. Sometimes they're bigger ones and they have a like a petcock put in there. It helps in draining the fuel when you go to do any work on it. Gets air out of the system too. We can work on the body now. Okay, I remember earlier when I was taking this apart, one of the pieces dropped on the floor. That was this link. And I'm looking at it, and I'm suspecting that there's a problem with it. I just don't like the way it looks. So I'm replacing it with a new one. Now, we're going to assemble this part of it, only because remember we couldn't get in there without turning everything sideways. So, Jeekes. This is not a place for big fat fingers to go. I gotta put the clip in there. It's not one of my more enjoyable parts. I forgot to show you that there's 2 different ways that this thing can go in. You notice that it's offset. Actually it goes in this way. So just be careful how this goes. If you put it in upside down, it'll drive the pull rod right through this cover that goes up here. It'll push it up too far. Okay, we want to install the arm. The arm gets hooked underneath that. Slide the new pin in. Now we've got to drive the pin in far enough that it'll hit that little piece of casting, and then put another dimple on the other side. Just like that. And that'll keep that pin from coming out. And just, everything works good. Now we're in the final stretch. Find your reference mark that tells you how it was, how it came apart. Put in 2 of the screws, one opposite each other. Get it through the diaphragm. And run it about halfway down. Get all the rest of the screws caught, but don't tighten them down yet. And before you tighten them down, pull that arm up as far as it'll go, and then tighten them down, but don't release that arm until they're all tight. After you get them all tight, grab the arm, put your finger over the outlet, hold the arm up, let it go, and you'll feel pressure. The inlet. If you don't feel any pressure coming out, and there's a leak somewhere up here, around this seal here, somewhere around the diaphragm, you just have to test it. Figure out where it is. Put this 3-screw cover on with the Oh, with the spring on it. That spring is just to return the arm, keep the arm in contact with the camshaft or the rod, whatever drives it. Once that cover is all tight, you're just about done. Just to make sure that the primer lever still works. It's ready. If you'd like to order a kit for this, just call in what the application is. Calling in by application would be handy. Mentioning that you got a metal cover instead of a glass bowl, which is what the Alpha Romeos in this year also used. So if you'd like to order a kit, you can do so by calling 781-335-8860, or on the web it's then-now.com. Click the like button, subscribe, and be safe out there. Thanks for watching.